So it's the last chance for Australia to get it right a week ahead of the first test. Last week Wales ran in over 70 points against the Russians, but this week the world champions come to Bridgend.
Strength side out, this is a chance, the final chance for a good warm-up, isn't it?
Yeah, this is our final hit out before we get our head down and think about the test, so we're looking for a good hit out today. It should be good.
And important to blow any final cobwebs away, and there have been one or two, haven't there?
Yeah, we haven't had a lot of good preparation up until this week. This week we've had a fairly good preparation, so we're looking for a bit better performance today.
And do you think that, I mean, there is more to come?
Oh yeah. No, we're settling down. We're here to win the 3 tests, so we want to peak for that.
Thanks very much, Chris. Let's move on to Neil Kelly. And Neil, maybe a below strength side compared with recent Welsh lineups. What are your hopes for today?
Well, we can only ask the players to give the best on the day, and if they give that, we can't ask any more. If that gives us a positive result, then so much the better. But you know, we're looking for 100%. I'm sure we'll get that from the players, and I'm sure they'll do the shirt proud.
Is the surprise factor going to work in your favour?
The surprise factor, well, there's a lot of unknown players in our side, and there is a surprise in there. So I would have thought we've been relatively hard to prepare for, but you know, we're just going to do the basics right and try and put as much pressure on the Australian side as we can. As Chris has said, you know, maybe they haven't fired on all cylinders yet, and we don't really intend to let today's performance be the first time that they do. But you know, that remains to be seen.
Sides when you get to Wales this week, it's been a bit wet as well for the Australians. Not that that's bothered the Welsh very much though, because they've had some of the warmest, driest indoor facilities to get ready for this game. Tucked away in the Welsh countryside, the Welsh team has been quietly preparing for a game that just might make a little bit of history. Wales have a bit of a reputation now for making things difficult for the Australians, and this time they've got 2 old campaigners on side.
Well, it was a shock, but you know, I've still got that sort of dream to play for my country again, and you know, I'm really looking forward to it.
Both Kevin and myself, you know, we've played professional rugby all the way up until this year, and so we have been keeping ourselves fit. And we like to sort of compare ourselves with the younger players. So I think we've got that interest and we've got that get up and go anyway. So I think that shows in our game as well.
A combined age of probably approaching 100, I would imagine, but they've fitted in well, and they're the sort of players whose experience, when you lose other players, is invaluable because they don't panic, they know what they've been through it before, and they can help everybody around them, and having that influence in and around the team can only be good.
Kevin and Alan have been there, done, well, just about everything. This year they led the Bridgend Blue Bulls to victory in the National Conference League. But they've played at the very top too, for Wales in Rugby Union and Great Britain and Wales in Rugby League. Alan even knows what it feels like to beat the best.
The Great Britain side in '94, it was a very good side. It had sort of been world-class players in it. And we ended up winning in Wembley. Whereas now I think we like a scratch side is just going out there to put a bit of pride into Welsh Rugby League. You
know, when you put on the Welsh jersey and you look at the 3 feathers, you know, just lift yourself. And you know, we'll be playing with a lot of pride and passion, but I think we've got to use our heads on Sunday to just compete with the Australians.
With all that pride and passion in abundance, it's hardly surprising that confidence among these players is growing. Alongside the veterans are youngsters like their Bridgend Blue Bulls teammate Lenny Woodard. They'll be buoyed by the magnificent performance of the England A side against Australia earlier this week. And they won't forget the scare they gave the Australians when they played them in the World Cup semi-final in 2000.
That game, you know, the Welsh squad, or the Welsh team, put a lot of pressure on the Australians from the word go. They were unfortunate not to get a closer result in the end, and if we can emulate that sort of pride and passion, then I think we'll do ourselves proud on Sunday.
Oh, it's going to be a very physical game. You know, whatever team the Australians put out, I think it'll be the test team before the Ashes. You know, it's going to be a big physical battle up front, and just hopefully we can just contain them in the first 20-30 minutes, and hopefully if we can get enough ball, you know, we've got a young back line there with lots of enthusiasm, and you know, hopefully we can maybe turn them over.
So what's the secret of their longevity? Is it the Welsh rain, perhaps? If that's the case, there'll be 1 or 2 other players, and perhaps even commentators, hoping for thunderstorms today.
You never know, there are grey skies overhead, but when the captains came out to toss the coin a few minutes ago, the sun was shining. Looks like Paul Aitchison, the Welsh captain, has won the toss. Let's talk to the two boys. They're with Bill.
Darren, Paul, grab a quick word, and you know from previous experience you can't afford to take a Welsh side lightly, can you?
No, the last time we played, yeah, it was a very close game. So, you know, today's our last game before the first Test match, and you know, we really want to get our game on song.
Party hats off, serious hats on.
It is, mate. Yeah, we're only 6 days out from the first Test, and you know, today's a Test match for us. We're going to treat it that way.
All the best.
Thank you.
And Paul, absolutely nothing for your Welsh side to lose today, is there? Nobody's giving you a chance.
That's right, Bill. Yeah, I think we're going into this game as pure underdogs. But the other day you just spoke to Darren there about the last time we met in the World Cup. You know, it was a great game for 40 minutes. Hopefully we can rectify that.
Wish you all the best.
Thanks, Bill. Bye.
Gens Brewery Field hosting a Rugby League international fixture for the first time. Wales against Australia. The Welsh have played 26 times since they were reformed 13 years ago. They've won 13, they've lost 13. They have 9 wins and 8 defeats from 17 games on Welsh soil. But this, arguably, is their biggest ever test. And the world champions from Australia. The British leg of their tour began on Tuesday with a 26-22 win against England A. They have been illuminating British autumns for the past 95 years, these tourists from Australia, and this Kangaroo squad is as good as any. But let's take a look now at the way the Welsh will line up. Aitchison is the fullback. Then it's O'Hare, Tassel, Hughes and Gibson, James and Lennon. The forwards, Roberts, Watson, Farrell, Aston, Morley and Ellis. What a story, Kevin Ellis back on the international scene. And just behind him, Alan Bateman, with Mills, Price and James on the bench. The coach, the witness coach, Neil Kelly. Now the men from down under, Lockyer, the fullback and captain, Minicello, Girdler, Bailey and Hegarty, the three-quarter line, Gower and Kimorley. The forwards, Webke, Badurus, Sivanasiva, Simpson, Fitzgibbon and Ricketson. And on the bench, Villasanti, Mason, Waterhouse and Craig Wing. The coach is Chris Anderson. Well, the people of Wales have turned out to see the world champions and to hope against hope that perhaps the Welsh Dragon will breathe fire all over them a week ahead of the test against Great Britain. For the first time in 33 years, there is serious doubt that the Australians will retain that Ashes trophy, but it will still take some effort by Great Britain to wrest it from them, Steve-O.
Yeah, they're really going to be on top form for the full 80 minutes. We've often known that in the past, sadly. When you play the Australians, their fitness always seems to come to the fore in the final quarter. Over the past 4 or 5 years, we have certainly caught up with the Australians in that fitness, especially with the fact that we've gone to Super League full professionalism. That certainly has helped.
Well, you mentioned that, Steve-O, but only 8 players out of the 17 in this Welsh squad are from the Super League. The rest are from the National League, the likes of Rochdale, Swinton, Hulkingston Rovers, Sheffield and Oldham. They have to make a massive step up, those young men.
Yeah, they certainly have, but we saw on Tuesday night, didn't we? The England A side, they were given no chance whatsoever against the might of the Australians, but they certainly turned a lot of things around. Okay, Australia raced to a 26-6 lead. A lot of people perhaps thinking that they took their foot off the pedal. I'm not so sure. You mentioned earlier about the ball, Eddie. It's something that the Australians do not like. They're not happy with it. They'd rather be playing with their brand of football that they use down under. And even a lot of the British players throughout this season in Super League have said that it is very difficult not only to handle but also to kick. We'll have to wait and see. It's something the Australians have to adapt to. But I think today we will see the full might of the Australians.
Well, Shane Webke withdrew from the match on Tuesday late on, but he is here today to stiffen the Australian pack. And I noticed there was a very nice gesture made by Neil Kelly and Mike Nicholas. They asked Kevin Ellis to lead the Welshmen out behind the coach and manager, but now I see he has swapped with Paul Aitchison. Here now the national anthems sung by the Penderus Male Voice Choir. Australia. A welcome to the Welsh Valleys for the Australian tourists. Well, that will stir the blood of all the Welsh players today. There is no doubt about that. And I hope you caught a nice glimpse of our guest John Devereux singing along up here on the gantry as well. Well, the sun is shining. And we were told when we arrived here last night, Steve-O, that when it rains, this pitch is pretty heavy and pretty boggy. And that would probably be what Wales need.
Yeah, I think they're looking at the dark clouds, which are away to the west there, and hoping that they will come in, because the biggest problem that the Welsh will have is trying to contain the Australians with their speed and their fitness. They've got to get into their faces. They cannot allow the Kangaroos any room to move. We know what they're capable of. It's got to be confrontational. They've got to get right into their faces very, very quickly. And I think, especially in the opening 10-15 minutes, we will get that. You talk of the pride, and it doesn't come any deeper than here in the Welsh Valleys.
Match referee is Carl Kirkpatrick, the current referee of the year. His first appearance since the grand final at Old Trafford. And a man who, along with Steve Ganson, is in line to take control of the first test at Wigan next week. He'll be looking for a big game as well. We're underway then here at the Brewery Field in Bridgend. Wales are in possession. And that is Ian Watson. Gets the ball away. Good defence, though, on show there from Fitzgibbon and Danny Badiris. There was no way through for Rob Roberts. And the kick from Mark Lennon is a good kick, but Lockyer collects it on the full. Good chase, though, and led by Damien Gibson and also Adam Hughes. This now is Minicello, one of the changes by Chris Anderson. On halfway, plays it to Badiris. Now Shane Webke. Great offload to Fitzgibbon. It goes wide to Girdler and Gower, and he comes back on the inside. Goes down under the challenge from Watson. And here is Petro Sivanasiva. That's a big hit. And a good hit too by second row forward John Aston of Hull KR. Sivanasiva on his backside as this attack builds. Lockyer. Good tackle low down again by Mark Lennon. And here is Kim Morley. They're running it on the last. A dab to the in-goal area. Aitchison is there. He took the gamble and the ball just beat everybody to the corner and runs dead in goal.
Well balanced, took the short side. Opted for the kick into the corner. Well left by the fullback Aitchison.
Interesting, by the way, Steve, of these in-goal areas in rugby union grounds. They're a little deeper than we are used to in rugby league generally. I know they've brought it forward a couple of metres. They do shorten them a little, but they're still quite deep. You'll have to watch that.
No doubt that Chris Anderson, the Australian coach, fully aware of that as well. And I must say that even though they were a little bit all at sea on tees against England, the Australians did. Their build-up work was very, very good, and their kick and chase was quite superb. And this man, Brett Camorley, he really is the architect for the Australians. If young Lennon, or let's say Mark Lennon, if he can just close him down, who knows?
Kick over the top and straight again into the arms of Lockyer. And here is Shannon Hegarty, who's come in off the wing, operated in the centre on Tuesday against England A. Badiris, the dummy half.
See quite quickly that within the opening 2.5 minutes that Australia are quite happy to run the angles.
Sivanasiva gets the Aussies over halfway with a powerful run. It needed a good tackle, and it was from Watson, but he just held on a little too long. And they certainly can do without giving away silly penalties like that.
Good run though by the big prop forward, Sivanasiva, but he went loaded in. Watson, as he has mentioned, just messed around a little bit too long. That'll be a ploy. Neil Kelly, the Welsh coach, will be saying to them, keep them, hold them down, try to upset them as long as you can.
Webke plays the ball to Badiris. Badiris hangs on, takes the tackle, and James was in there quickly. Fitzgibbon was the runner. Oh, that ball goes to ground. It's picked up and tidied up by Lockyer. Oh, he gets away from Aitchison. And there's a hole opening up here for Kimorley. And Kimorley gets the pass inside to the centre, Ryan Girdler. And Girdler will touch down under the sticks. And I think there is a problem here for Darren Lockyer, is it? He is the Australian who is flat out the captain. Maybe got a bang on the nose, perhaps.
He's on the offload in the build-up to it. Just as he gets the ball away here, Aitchison missed him, but they certainly got him after that. Touch too late. Mentioned the fact about the Australians running the angles. Came about from the penalty. Sivanasiva, no doubt about it, Watson all over them. And from the resulting play, it was a very good try indeed. The way that Brett Kimorley run out on the angle. Watch how he would just stretch the Welsh defence. Not the best pass here. This is where he offloads, and Morley certainly went over the top. It looked late, but what great support there for Girdler to go in for the first try of the game. It's a real pleasure to watch the way that these Australians do the angles back on the inside. You could sense that when Kimorley made the break.
Fitzgibbon kicks the goal, and Darren Lockyer has got blood coming down from his nose, and he is taken from the field. Chris Warren, you've got news?
Yeah, not good news for the Kangaroos. Their captain leaving the field. Of course, Robbie Kearns is not playing as well, who was their captain last week in Carcassonne. At the first glance, though, we'll get more reports on Darren Lockyer. It's a badly looks like a broken nose to me, and we'll get further reports in a moment.
The referee has just had a word with Chris Morley for the incident that led to Lockyer going off the field. He's replaced then by Craig Wing. An earlier than anticipated opportunity for Craig Wing.
I must say he's very fortunate. Chris Morley, no doubt about it, he went in late and high.
Well, that will stir the Australians up, seeing their captain leave the field with blood pouring from what Chris Warren believes is a broken nose, and he's not bad in medical decisions and diagnoses. Here is Kimorley again. That's a great ball. On the charge is Simpson. He's got support with him. That is Bailey. And Bailey won't need any of the 4 or 5 green and gold jerseys that are alongside him. And Bailey goes over for the second try. And it is ominous, I'm afraid, for the Welsh. Bailey with his first try of the tour. The Cronulla Sharks centre, 13 tries this year for them.
Kimorley, the architect yet again, just held the ball long enough for Simpson to go through on the break. And there was no one at home there. Bailey just trotted in, didn't even get into his full stride. But the offload there from Kimorley was quite superb. Big second rower Steve Simpson. Bailey, who knows he has to have a big game. He gets selected for the first test next Saturday at Wigan. He gets on the score sheet. But the ease there that Brett Kimorley just attracted the defence, a wide gap, so wide in fact you could have built a conservatory on it. It was that wide.
Chris Anderson, the Australian coach since 1999, played 21 matches, won 18. And here is Fitzgibbon now, and he doesn't miss from that sort of range, that sort of angle. 12-0 to the Kangaroos. Well, he wanted a more smooth performance from his team, Chris Anderson, and in the opening 10 minutes or so, he's certainly getting that. And Kim Hawley is the man who's at the heart of it.
Without a doubt, we saw that at Brentford on Tuesday night against England A. He was the real architect for most of the tries.
Bailey, the try scorer.
He's already provided the 2 passes for the 2 tries. Beautiful offload for the centre, Girdley, and then his centre partner, Bailey.
Well, I'm sure that David Waite will be watching this at home, and he will need no telling that Kim Hawley is the man who makes the Aussies tick. Having said that, you take care of him, and then Gower would step up to the mark. You take care of him, and there's fellas like Girdler knocking around. Lockyer when he's fit and on the field.
But the most important factor, as far as Chris Anderson is concerned, he knows that it's such a linchpin is Kim Hawley that if Great Britain have to shut him down, and I think that they are capable of doing that. It depends who they pick at half-back, doesn't it?
It does. That was a great chase, though, from Kim Hawley's kick. And they are looking to pen Wales back inside their own half here, this set of 6. This now is Hefin O'Hare from Huddersfield. 5th cap for Wales, for O'Hare. And a drive in there by John Aston, making his international debut.
Big hit by the 2 second rowers, Simpson and Fitzgibbon there.
Let him run.
Kick early from Ian Watson again, and this now is Craig Wing. Adam Hughes with the tackle, formerly with Leeds, Wakefield and Halifax, the Widnes Viking. And here again is Minicello.
Neil Kelly won't be happy with that kick. Even though they went early, you've got to make sure that it's deep. It failed to do that.
Webke hands it on again to Gower. On one knee, gets it away to Ricketson. Ricketson offloads to Fitzgibbon. Well, 12-0 they lead, 9.5 minutes gone. Sivanasiva.
You can see Australia getting over the advantage line with considerable ease. And the Welsh defence, they're hanging back, they're not getting into their faces. But they did on that occasion, that'll be play on.
Yes, Craig Wing couldn't hold on to it. And Kevin Ellis is the man who picked it up for the Welsh. Chris, you've got more news on Lockyer.
Yeah, just confirming it is a broken nose on Darren Lockyer. He's also slightly dazed at the moment. They're going to give him about 5 or 10 minutes to see if he does come around. I'm not sure if he will come back, but the doctor's looking at him. We'll give him about 10 minutes to ascertain, and Webke will assume the captaincy in his place.
Well, I think the scoreline at 12-0 already. I don't think that Chris Anderson will take the risk.
This is Kevin Ellis.
I'm sure they'll keep Lockyer off the field of play. Give him all the time in the world, well, 6 days at least anyway. Prepare himself for the first test.
This is Adam Hughes now. That's a good offload. Gibson flicks it back. Watson, he's pulled into touch. Terrific tackle from Bailey. But there was a little smidgen of hope then for the Welsh.
Well, the one thing the Australians can't do, and that's go very high on Adam Hughes. Good ball work in the end, but crunch time came. Phil Bailey is raw bone.
Loose forward against the French select last Saturday.
Very strong indeed, Eddie. Upper body strength from this guy, Bailey. Superb.
Here's the substitute, Craig Wing. Needed a good tackle from Aitchison, and it was. Hegarty, Webke. Oh, that was a big hit again from John Aston, but they've got the penalty. It was stolen.
He's putting himself about, isn't he, John Aston? Second rower. The Australians didn't like that, no doubt about it. Right in front of the official, Carl Kirkpatrick. You've got to make sure you got it. Perhaps Aston thought that it was just 1-on-1, but one of his colleagues had just joined in.
Sivanasiva, a big strong run, gets up to his feet, plays the ball quickly. There's a Welshman flat out. After that, dazed, it is the standoff. Aled James, as the ball is fed inside to Webke.
Big advantage of the Australians. They do use the forwards at the 3/4 in the defensive line.
Oh, and they're through again. There's another try, and it comes to Steve Simpson. And I'm afraid it's looking very ominous for the Welsh now. Simpson with the try for the Australians.
Considerable ease. One pass, yeah, the Welsh defence didn't move forward, they hesitated. and in heaps of trouble. Nothing that Lennon could do about it. Simpson, very strong, always looking for work, this fella. Doesn't shirk it, the try scorer, Steve Simpson. No doubt realising that a big game from him will convince Chris Anderson that it will be the combination, the back three, Simpson, Fitzgibbon and Ricketson. I feel that'll be the test side, the back three for that next week at Wigan. But very easy for the Australians at the moment.
Here's Fitzgibbon again. David Waite knows all about him, the former Illawarra Steeler. He actually played in the grand final for David Waite. And he's deadly with the boot. Admittedly, he's not been tested too much so far today. But Fitzgibbon is pretty handy when it comes to knocking the goals over. And there is Neil Kelly, who was telling us in the hotel last night that it was a wonderful opportunity for these players to step up to the mark. He knows he's up against it. No Cunningham, no Breers, and a little bit short in other areas as well. But it was a wonderful opportunity, he said, and he hoped his men would perform. Well, Kevin Ellis is trying to get them going.
That was good play. They opted for the short kickoff, and they've got the possession. That's been their biggest problem, the fact that they haven't had a chance to show their wares in Australia's quarter.
Farrell offloads to Watson. He gets the ball away then to Morley. You might have noticed that number 15, David Mills, also witnesses out there. Here now is Mark Lennon. That's a good little run, and Australia have the penalty against them. Offside at the play the ball. They're not kicking for goal. This is Farrell. Why should they at 18-0 down? This now is Watson, Lennon.
Line, Ryan!
Watson waits at dummy half. David Mills is the runner. Watson again. They're 5 metres short. Watson, a little dummy, and Sivanasiva had to get the tackle. He's got the ball down though. Watson believes he scored.
So do I. He just shook off the effort from Sivanasiva. Good thinking, run from dummy half, utilised the referee extremely well, and I think this is going to be a try. Oh, maybe not. But was it reefed away? That's the big question. If the try is disallowed, well, I've seen them given, Eddie. Definitely seen them given before. And I think this might be as well. Touch and go, it's a 50-50 as the rain comes down, torrential rain, whilst the video referee is making the decision. I think he might give this. Oh no, it's knocked off. It's so therefore it's pretty hard to define what they're going to have the restart. Who would make a decision like this? Will it be in the positive?
Steve Cross's decision. It's no try and a 20-metre restart. He is deemed to have lost the ball over the line. Well, the rain is absolutely slanting down now here in Bridgend. This will be good news for the Welsh. It just might slow the Aussies down. Bill?
Well, not such good news for the Welsh, Eddie, is that Ian Watson immediately after that decision came up on the screen there, disallowing his try, went straight to the dressing rooms. You saw, I think you could see, just in the start of the replay, the start of blood flowing down his forehead. Well, it turned into a torrent. He clashed heads with Danny Badiris in that incident, and he's gone to the dressing room, and it looks like a stitching job for the Welsh physio team.
Kim Hawley, meanwhile, to Fitzgibbon. Up the middle he goes. Mills coming across to help out John Aston in the tackle. This once again is Simpson.
See how Badiris just organising things out there. They're getting a flat attack.
Good kick from Kamali. Terrific kick, but just running out of space in the end.
Wait for me, Flash.
Well, 18-0 to the Australians. Sean McRae, predictable.
Yeah, I think so, Eddie. I think the Australians have been very dominant in all departments. I think an interesting exercise for people who are watching at home to look at. Have a look at how many times in the set of 6 the Australian players land on their front. In other words, elbows and knees. Give themselves a bit of space between the defenders and get a quick play of the ball. Compare that to what the Welsh team are doing. They're trying to get to the ground quick, but often they're being held up or put on their back, and that slows the play of the ball down. And when you've got a referee like Carl Kirkpatrick, who generally gives a very good 10 metres, that obviously plays in the Australian hands. So the Welsh team have got a lot to combat here at the moment. They are competing. They're trying to play a fairly simple game plan of just complete, get a good kick in, hope the Australian side make a mistake. But I think the Australian side, by comparison to last Tuesday night, their possession rate, their control of the football has been much better, and that's something that will please Coach Chris Anderson.
Sean, I know that you believe that Phil Clark has a pretty glamorous job with us here on Sky Sports. How are you enjoying the rain?
Oh, mate, you're kidding. I'm like a drowned rat down here already. I've got to get back up there with you guys soon.
I think you better add. Hope you brought a brolly with you, Sean.
No, but I've got Chris Warren and Bill Arthur standing over the top of me. They're very good protectors.
Oh, fair enough. That's a great ball wide. Meanwhile, to Gower, and the kick across field is for Kim Morley, and that bounces perfectly. And there is another try to the Kangaroos. Well, rain, hail, snow, dry, wind, doesn't matter. This Australian side can play.
Sure can, and the combination of the two halfbacks combining. Aussie fan delighted, especially with the scoreline, but so easy. That short line, did a little offload there. Chow Gower just pulls it through. Notice how Gower has just moved out onto the wing. But it was one of the wingers that took the ball up. Beautiful little pass there from Ryan Girdler. Interesting to see how Girdler will perform. Badly injured in the build-up to the Penrith tilt at the grand final earlier this year. But there is a man yet again. And Eddie mentions that David Wade knows all about him. So do the Great Britain players.
It's given out to the extras. And the rain is absolutely slanting down now. 24-0. Kangaroos are ahead. And you have to get cover on a day like this any way you can.
Difficulty now for the Australians. Okay, they've got off to that flying start, and there you can see how the rain just pelting down, running off the umbrella. It's going to be difficult now for Chris Anderson to keep the players thinking all the time. Mentally, it's very difficult. They don't get these conditions all that often down in Australia.
Well, they will try and keep it going, the Australians, because they are desperate to get things on track for the Test match next Saturday. And I think we have to measure their performance today against the opposition, Steve-O, but it looks a much more competent performance than it was in Brentford on Tuesday night against the English.
A lot more power, a lot more ball handling skills, and the ability. They're playing the ball a lot quicker than what they have done before. I thought that was completed.
Oh, that's a slack pass though, and it's picked up by Adam Hughes. And he had Richard Villasanti all around the back of him. He wants to play quickly. Villasanti standing in the ruck. Should have been and could have been penalised. And Ellis had nowhere to go then. The referee played the advantage.
Yep.
Australia offside. A man standing in the ruck. It was Richard Villasanti.
He made no effort to be the first man in the marker. And also Chris Anderson has to realise, and the Australian players, it could be raining like this next week. So they've got to get as much value out of this game in wet conditions.
You're not saying it rains in Wigan, are you? Farrell plays the ball. This is Morley.
To release! To the line! To the line!
Kevin Ellis directing a dummy half. Off the deck to Mark Lennon. Mark Lennon then pops it back.
It's important that the Welsh go through their full sets of 6. A couple of times in the first 10 minutes they kicked early in the tackle count. That little play on, it came off an Australian body. He went for the football. Great chance now.
It is a chance. Lennon on the half volley, picks it up, and throws it to nobody. And Kim Morley hacks the ball forward. Damien Gibson was after it, but Kim Morley made sure that that ball was going to be his.
Well, he didn't panic, did he? The little halfback made sure that he went for the football with his arms rather than just lash out with a boot and hope.
Trent Waterhouse plays the ball to Badouris. Here's Luke Ricketson. And they're offside. Wales caught offside to play the ball. Well, they have the opportunity at one end, Wales, and then they spill the ball. Slack pass, Lockyer waiting to come on. And immediately pressure is on their line up the other end.
Well, sometimes this Welsh defence moves up, other times it's hold back. That's play on! Has he got the speed?
Well, there's a break there. It was Aled James. He got to halfway. Kevin Ellis behind him. And I think that's Ryan Girdler, by the way, who has just left the field for the Australians. He limped to the sideline. That could be a problem for him. Lockyer is back on, though. That's a bonus for them. But Girdler off, and he was limping quite heavily as he made his way to the sideline. Here's Mark Lennon. Now it's Chris Morley. Big hit on him.
Slowly but surely, Mark Lennon getting involved in this game. Doing exactly what his opposite is doing for Australia. That's Kamali.
Gareth Price feeling the full weight there of Waterhouse and Bailey. Lennon spreads it wide to Ellis. Ellis with a kick to the corner. Oh, it looked, and I think he got a call then that he was way offside the winger, and he most certainly was. Evan O'Hare.
Good referee in there. You can see that Evan O'Hare was just in front. Said stay back, give him the 10. Not a bad little effort though.
Oh, Fitzgibbon driving his way forward 10-15 metres. News of Girdler, Chris?
Well, luckily for Darren Lockyer, can make it back. His vision has recovered sufficient for him to come on for Ryan Girdler. You saw him coming off the field there. He was hobbling, and it is a recurrence, we believe, of that right calf injury. Of course, this is his first game back since the grand final in Sydney, and he was hoping to put in a big performance today. A blow for the centre combination for Chris Anderson.
And Aitchison taking no chances with that 40-20 attempt that actually skewed back this way, because herring after it was Craig Gower, and had Aitchison not taken safety first, could have been another try posted on the board.
Good option. Long kick downfield. So much pace in this Kangaroo side.
There's that deep in goal area we were talking about earlier on, Steve-O, deeper than usual. And well, the Kangaroos will try and exploit that as well.
Well, great opportunity. Chris Anderson get the message out, go through their set patterns, go through all their moves. They'll feel pretty confident that this is already in the bag at 24-0.
Well, they're scoring at a rate of more than a point a minute.
And the difficulty yet again is that they just can't get into this Australian half sufficiently to apply any pressure.
Webke stands, eventually has to take the tackle from Gareth Price and David Mills. Badouris, this now is Villasanti.
That'll be play on, offside. Play the knock on first. Well, you can expect plenty of this. It's the sun shining
ball,
now.
I think I've just heard Carl Kirkpatrick say. It is. Yeah. It's head and feet to the Australians. Knocked out.
Well, it's the interpretation of that rule, isn't it? Alan James going into the tackle, but he's been deemed by Kirkpatrick to say that he deliberately
played at it
in the hands of Craig Gower.
Well, it's the interpretation of that rule again that thankfully didn't cause too many problems during the grand final series, and let's hope it doesn't cause any problems during this test series. If a player is deemed not to have played at the ball, it's simply play on, but Carl Kirkpatrick there saying that that was a deliberate attempt to play the ball. That's great defence from Wales.
Good hit from
Chris Tassel, terrific.
Launched himself into it. Pretty slow to get started, but that...
And Craig Wing feeling the full weight of Chris Tassel there.
Great defence. Look at the head and feed.
Well, the man from Swinton, Chris Tassel, try against Australia in that World Cup semi-final 3 years ago.
Well, this is a brave effort by the Welsh boys. I want to say boys, there's quite a few elderly statesmen out there. Kevin Ellis, in fact, it wouldn't surprise me if Kevin Ellis is older than some of the Australians' fathers out there. No disrespect to him. Been a great ambassador to the game of rugby league, is Kevin Ellis.
There he is at dummy half. Ball comes infield, and that is Gareth Price. Sean, the rain has stopped, thankfully. What are you making of it now?
Well, I think it was a great leveller, to be honest with you, Eddie. I think the rain always has a tremendous effect on the side that's behind, because it does seem to even things up. It's more difficult for the side with the momentum and the confidence to continue in that vein. So I think Australia have been pegged back to a certain extent. Of course, you look at the scoreboard, you say 24-0, surely the game's over. It probably is, but it has given Wales an opportunity, I think, to defend better. The ball movement clearly is not quite as crisp now because of the conditions, and I think Australia are just going to have to re-establish a bit more of a go forward and develop a little bit more of the field position they had before, and we might see some crisp, clean passing again.
Rickettson's on the break though, and here is Lockyer, and then there's another try on the board for Australia. The captain has returned and touches down under the sticks. Darren Lockyer, the latest try, and with the kick to come, it's the 5th try, and there's going to be 30 points up against the Australians' name in a few seconds' time.
Pretty basic rugby league football, but so effective, isn't it? Just a quick pass from the first receiver from the dummy half. Ricketson, all the quality. He's always looking for the inside support. That man Kamali is running the show out there.
Stay on the ball and suffer the consequences.
And Mr. Broken knows himself, the skipper, Darren Lockyer, goes in for yet another Kangaroo try. A little bit dispirited now are the Welsh boys.
And I think I also heard Carl Kirkpatrick issuing a warning to Chris Morley about another late tackle that he had spotted in the build-up to that try. Fitzgibbon has added the extras. Wales 0, Australia 30.
Going back to the fact that Sean McRae just mentioned that it is a leveller. Of course, we have to drift back to Tuesday night, Eddie, in the fact that the Australians went into a 26-6 lead and then just eased off. No doubt about it, they did ease off. I don't think Anderson will be sending the message out. He wants to make sure, maybe trying to get 50 points before half-time, then they can relax a bit.
14 clean breaks from the Australians. You really think that that was the case, and it wasn't the English who dug deep and made it look as though the Australians eased off on Tuesday? Because I thought it was a great performance by those youngsters.
I'm not taking anything away from the way that they played, but the thing is that once they had the game in the back 26-6, quite a few of them, in my opinion, the eagerness in defence just held back. It allowed England to get back into the game. And they were struggling, Australia, late in the match. Little doubt about that.
Problem also for Wales, Steve-O, some of these men from the national leagues, they haven't played for weeks. They will be a little bit ring rusty, won't they?
And not only that, Eddie, we're talking about...
It's a golfing class.
Yeah, I mean, the power, you look at the two sides. I mean, some of the three-quarters playing for the Kangaroos are as big, if not bigger, than the Welsh pack.
Keep working, come on out of there!
30-0 and 29 minutes on the clock. They played New Zealand, they played a French select, they played England A, and now they're playing the Welsh. They have certainly been given every opportunity to take those ashes home, and I know that's a concern of David Way's, isn't it?
Yeah.
They've had maybe a couple too many of these warm-up matches ahead of the Test series.
Well, we've only had 80 minutes, Great Britain, and as you say, 4 good solid games, and it's still a big hit out for them, don't worry about that. You're trying to be a little bit too smart there in offloading.
Should we have expected Great Britain to have played any more warm-up games?
Well, I would have played the French.
Well, they're involved in the European Nations Cup, of course. They beat Ireland yesterday, but Wales are also involved in that, aren't they? So space might have been made available to play Great Britain.
Well, I think it should.
Here's Morley again for Wales to halfway. Plays the ball to Ellis. He goes over and into Australian territory. Oh, and Kevin Ellis looking for a penalty that is not forthcoming, or is it?
Yeah, he'll get it, surely.
The big substitute Trent Waterhouse seemed to just step in his way. He's not got the penalty.
He's an old hand, isn't he, Kevin Ellis, trying to perhaps milk it. Lockyer just let it roll over the whitewash.
Let's go down to Bill News of Ian Watson as he packs down in the front row of this scrum.
Yes, Ian Watson has returned, replacing Alan James for Wales. Rochdale hooker has had 7 stitches in that cut he got when he tried to go over for Wales and came very close to getting their only points in this first half.
Here comes Fitzgibbon again. Tassel with the tackle on him.
Putting his body around, isn't he, Chris Tassel?
Webke. Good ball inside to Villasanti, who has dropped that.
good defence. Very good defence indeed.
Interesting character, Richard Villasanti, New Zealand Warriors, a former junior Kiwi against the Aussies in 1999.
That was a big hit from Gareth Price. Well, they're certainly serving it up to them, and fair credit. Welsh outfit. One wonders what will occur in the final quarter. So often in the past, even the Great Britain senior team has capitulated in the final quarter. One wonders what will happen here, but it's a good basic, good build-up for the Australians now. They can start using a little bit more finesse in the three-quarter line.
Watson bravely with those stitches in the head wound, and the ball dabbed forward looking for Aitchison. That ball went backwards in the end off the arms of Minicello. It's tidied up by Lockyer, someone else who's battling on bravely after that nasty bang on the nose.
Good position by the Australian skipper.
Another good hit from Tassel. Craig Wing felt that.
It's the second occasion that Mr. Wing has had himself clipped by the centre, Chris Tassel.
Mr. Wing has been dinged.
Yeah.
Badouris. They have support, Fitzgibbon. This is Shannon Hegarty. Now it's Badouris, or Aitchison missed him completely. Luckily for Wales, there were reinforcements there in the shape of David Mills. Good hands, but in the end, Lockyer puts it down. Knock on.
There was a problem with Lockyer against England A, especially early in the match.
Side fellas, red ball.
Lost the ball on 3 occasions. Just had a little glance at the oncoming traffic.
I think the sprinklers will be on at the JJB Stadium for much of Saturday, Steve, whether it's raining or not.
This is heavy, this, isn't it?
Well, I reckon they should get the bulldozer and go into the Wigan Canal.
Just saw Chris Anderson, the Australian coach there. He admits that they are vulnerable this year. But when you think about it, which team wouldn't be without the likes of Andrew Johns, Gordon Tallis, Ben Kennedy and Matthew Gidley, to name but a few. But they have got 11 men in their 23-man squad who featured in the NRL Grand Final this year. So as we said on Tuesday...
Don't be kidded by Chris Anderson.
No, there are no mugs. We said that on Tuesday.
Yeah, you can't just sit back and say, oh, this is the greatest chance. It is a great chance. And we've shown in the past that we can match them, especially in winning one match out of the 3-test series. But let's not be kidded. This will be one heck of a battle. Ashes series always are, but this one is going to be rougher and tougher than we've seen for a while.
Villasanti is a real handful. Penalty. Villasanti did not play it properly.
Well, that won't earn him any brownie points, will it? Shouting and bawling at the official, Carl Kirkpatrick. Big day for him as well, Kirkpatrick. You know that if he handles this game very well, referee of the season, of course, but if he handles it well, obviously he'll be taking one of the tests.
You would think so. You would think as referee of the year he might get one anyway. Don't forget the battle for the Ashes gets underway next Saturday. The 8th, the 15th and the 22nd. Rugby League's information line where you can get anything you need to know about it. 0113 232 911. Open for business first thing in the morning. The match at Wigan next Saturday starts it all off. It's a question of be there or be square. If you can't be there, it's live on Sky Sports, of course.
Good play by the Welsh then. Double run around involving Kevin Ellis on 2 occasions. Yes, they've given it all they've got.
Watson and Lennon, Aitchison. They've stemmed the tide anyway for the time being.
Well, at 30-0, the message that will get to the Australians is that we do not let them score.
Watson, this is Tassel! Well, they might have got that message out, but Chris Tassel has scored for the Welsh.
And fully deserved, especially by the man that went over for the try.
But he's been putting himself around in defence, Chris Tassel, and the Swinton Lion gets over for the Welsh try. The only member of our camera crew that's Welsh, he's celebrating that as well. But he's the only Welshman who'll admit to it anyway.
Well worked. Remember, it was a double run around. Good work from the hooker. Then the long ball. Knew it was in, no doubt about it. Very rare you catch the Australians short like that. They normally utilise a man-on-man defensive pattern. They didn't on that occasion. They were forced into a sliding defence. Lockyer came too late. Courage from the hooker, through the dummy there. And the centres came out of their line. Well, he'll remember that for some time, and rightly so.
Well, he got a try against the Aussies in that World Cup semi-final. 4 tries in the World Cup in all that year. And here now is Mark Lennon with the opportunity to try and add the extras. Giving it a good thump. But he's just pushed it the wrong side of the posts. But Wales on the scoreboard. They lead are 4, but the Australians have 30. He needs a medal, Kevin Ellis, for carrying on, doesn't he, at 38?
It's a big ask, and credit for his services, especially down these pads.
Well, his club, the Blue Bulls, won the Summer Conference Grand Final. And with John Devereux and Alan Bateman, they're doing a great job in this part of the world to keep the rugby league flag flying. Sean, Wales on the scoreboard.
Yeah, well worked try too. I think young Watson had a lot of room to move out of dummy half. Interestingly too, Craig Fitzgibbon got caught up at marker. They may have been a little short on that left-hand side. I think there's been some vulnerability there. Perhaps Craig Wing, not used to playing in the centres. Maybe there's some communication problems out there on that left side with Gower, Wing and Hegarty. I'm not 100% sure there. It surprised me if there was, but that seems to be the more vulnerable side. Maybe that's something that could be exploited in the second half by the Welsh team.
10 metres inside their own half, the Welsh, and Watson, left-footed, but on the bounce into the arms of Lockyer again. Now, the one thing that Wales will be hoping is that they don't concede a try just before half-time.
Biggest problem there, it wasn't the best kick, Eddie. You've got to be able to turn these Australians around and look at that.
Nothing too much
Not
really
between
to
them, no. Just shows you the fact that you have to take into account as well that Australia have scored a lot of tries before they've got to the sets of 6. Completed, that is. Ooh, that's a bit high.
And the referee agrees with you. And that is Gareth Price. And needless to say, the Aussies running it. Here's Waterhouse. Oh, Waterhouse almost stepping out to the challenge. He's getting the ball away to Craig Gower brilliantly. And Tassel doing enough to just stop him, stop the momentum slightly. Badiris, oh, the defence wasn't there. And Badiris just dummied and shimmied his way and then slid over the line. Well, they didn't want that, the Welsh. Danny Badiris with the try. He adds to the one he got against England on Tuesday.
No first or second marker there. It was a stroll-in. The experienced Danny Badiris. Just no one at home. Fatigue beginning to set in this Welsh outfit. He'll be happy, Chris Anderson. With a scoreline like that, he's every right to feel that way, but I think now he will say to them, we'll go through the set patterns. They'll utilise it as a training exercise in the second half. They have to.
Craig Fitzgibbon with 5 goals from 5 attempts. That's the 6th try the Aussies have scored in this first half. They're going to turn round 36-4 up, I think, because Fitzgibbon doesn't miss these. (36-4) it is. The half-time siren is imminent. And there it is. No time for the restart. The Australians were already on their way through to the dressing room anyway. Well, an impressive first half from them. The scoring began in the 4th minute and ended with the 6th in the 40th minute. Chris Tassel did get over for the solitary Welsh score, but at 36 points to 4, the Australian green and gold machine is rolling ever onward and forward towards the first test at Wigan next Saturday. And on the basis of this first half, they're in much better shape. About to start the second half here at Bridgend Brewery Field, and the Australians well in control of the match. 36-6 ahead. And for Wales, Alan Bateman comes into the action at the start of this second half. Another 38-year-old winning his 14th cap alongside Kevin Ellis, the other 38-year-old who's also winning his 14th cap for his country. Well, last week the Welsh ran up a record victory, 74-4 against Russia. Their record defeat came in 1978, 60 points to 13 by England. And all the record keepers are waiting to see whether there will be another record score up against them here today. But it's worth noting that the Welsh actually play England next week in the European Nations Cup at Headingley. That's England A on Sunday, the day after the first test at Wigan, when we are all hoping, of course, that we will be celebrating a British victory, but we will have to wait and see. That's good defence. Terrific defence. They picked him up and they're driving him back, and it's a goal line dropout coming up. Real enthusiasm from the Welsh, and Mr. Gow wasn't terribly impressed that he was airborne and being pushed back over his own line. Trying to say he'd been tackled, but he wasn't, and he never hit the ground and he never stopped moving. They sorted that. Well done, the Welsh. Good start, good opening.
Well, it looked like the Pharaoh being taken down the Nile then, didn't it?
Yes, they sometimes bring you in on a bath chair, don't they? To these grounds.
One day, probably I will. It's important that the Welsh really just build their confidence now. And
Adam Hughes, the man you might have noticed there, replaced by Alan Bateman. This is David Mills.
So go through the basics, and we've already seen what Mark Lennon and Alan James and the hooker Ian Watson could do.
And this is Morley, who really has been putting himself about in every way since the match began. Watson, good short ball, Bateman first touch, and the tackle had to be good from Bailey and was. Here's Watson, this is on the last, and Bateman and Bailey tangling off the ball. Kick through, or goes to the legs of Lockyer, and I think that was taken over by Minicello. It's another goal line dropout.
Certainly was. Good way to kick there. Good pressure as well. The one thing that the Welsh side are sorting out, Mark Lennon's kick just weighted well. Minicello certainly had to get to it.
Well, Ellis was certainly hunting a try.
It was pretty close.
Not the greatest dropout either. Tassel midway inside the Australian half of the field, but a great chase led by Hegarty and also by Craig Wing. And Tassel keeping going. And now he calls the tackle held.
That's one area, Eddie, that the Australians are a little bit lax in, and that's in the first and second markers. The Welsh side have got good forward running from the dummy half.
Gareth Price, 10 metres away from the Australians, plays the ball a bit untidily. Watson stabs the kick through. Another chase on here. Can they pin him again? Yes, they can. Another set of 6. Terrific start from the Welsh. Down to Bill.
Eddie, this is exactly what Neil Kelly was looking for. In fact, I think it's more than he can possibly have imagined from his side when he told them at half-time that they've got to try and play the game deeper in the Australian half, put the pressure on them and look for the mistakes. And really, it's worked like a charm early on in this second half. And you've mentioned it already, because there's a lot at stake for Wales, not just in this game, but they've got a big game in their view next weekend against England at Headingley, and they need to go into that with a little bit of confidence. Okay, Neil Kelly recognising they're probably not going to win this one, but they can certainly get something out of this second half, and my word, they've started the right way.
They have, and this is their third consecutive set of 6 against this Australian defence, and here's Tassel again, and there had to be a big hit from Hegarty, and it was.
There again we saw Watson taking full advantage of the first and second markers, just hanging around. They're not working overtime.
Oh, that looked a little forward from Lennon. Referee lets them go on as Morley plays the ball, and here is Gareth Price again, driving it in hard. This is the last tackle, this set of 6. Can they get a 4th set on the run? Well, it's a poor pass inside. Aitchison's good kick, though. Hegarty's in the goal area again. Oh, passed it to, and he has dropped it over the line, Lockyer, and it's a 4th consecutive set of 6 for the Welsh. What an amazing start to this second half.
Full credit to them. They really have stepped up a gear. And you can see there that the arm just hit the whitewash. Oh, this is amazing.
Well, what was said by the Aussies, Chris, at half-time?
Well, as we saw from our pictures, there was some source of heat in that dressing room. I popped in there to see if they were cooking the billy. They weren't. The source of heat wasn't from any heated arguments. It was a very composed camp, very happy. And looking at the scoreboard, why wouldn't they be happy at 36 points to 4? What they did say is they wanted to keep things simple. They were disappointed at Griffin Park last week that they didn't go on with the match when they had their chance to. That's what they'd like to see at the back end of this match. When the opportunities do present themselves, let's put the pedal down.
Tassel again, fed by Watson with a little scoop from dummy half. This is a very impressive opening 5 minutes to this second half. Kevin Ellis, long ball, straight into the arms of Bailey. And 4 minutes, 49 seconds of absolute magic for the Welsh comes to an end with a pretty poor ball from the veteran Kevin Ellis. But look at the second half possession in the opening 4 or 5 minutes. It's been all Wales. Ball comes back to Lockyer. Here is Kimorley, balance looking to be restored. And as soon as they get the ball, Kimorley will go over the line and score because he's got the pace of Aitchison. It's Kimorley's second try of the match. Well, all that pressure from Wales. Kevin Ellis is down, by the way, on the halfway line, receiving treatment for a bang. But all that pressure from Wales brought 4 consecutive sets of 6. But it was Brett Kimorley who come up with the first try of the second half as soon as the Aussies got possession.
Poor pass by the loose forward Kevin Ellis. It was looping, always dangerous. But watch this fellow when Kimorley gets the football. Watch him glide through here, just through the dummy. Came out of the one line of defence and he knew he had the pace. Quality player, this fella. He is one player that we have to shut down next Saturday at the JJB Stadium. Chris Anderson, the Australian coach, fully aware that he is the key player.
Well, all that hard work from Wales, and in the end, as soon as they get the ball, the Australians get over the line and score the try. Fitzgibbon again from bang in front. This will be 7 from 7, only just scraped in the right side of the right-hand upright. 42-4.
And problems for the Welsh side. Kevin Ellis has been told that he cannot continue on. It's a bad shoulder injury to the right shoulder. The medic said no, it's too serious, you cannot continue on. Brave effort from Kevin Ellis, especially at his age.
Yes, terrific effort from Kevin Ellis. And you might have caught a glimpse there of Lee Briers, who's been down here, part and parcel of this Welsh team build-up to this match against the Kangaroos. Enters hospital on Wednesday. You Warrington fans will be anxious to know this, I'm sure. And he will have surgery on the injured wrist. But he is absolutely desperate to be leading the Warrington Wolves out in their new stadium at the start of Super League next year. That, he tells us last night, is his primary goal.
Good run there by the prop forward Shane Wetke, went right into the chest of Chris Morley, just bounced him down on the floor. And I get the impression now that Kimorley's try has lifted the Australians. They want to go on with it. They get into the gaps quite easy. That'll be back to 6. That'll be offside.
Yes. Touched by a Welsh hand.
John Aston didn't have time to hang around and hold a committee meeting. But you can see how they're getting through with ease now. Luke Ricketson.
No point in them kicking for goal in a situation like this, so they go through another set of 6.
Yeah,
the Kangaroos.
Training run for them now.
Badiris still. Yes, this is much better than a game of unopposed, isn't it? Ricketson. Good ball to Villasanti. That was knocked out of his hand accidentally.
No advantage. He'll play the knock on, head and feet to the Welsh side. And there you see the scoreline, 42-4. This is the type of scoreline that I anticipated last Wednesday when the Great Britain side took on the New Zealand A. We really should have shown what we're capable of. Sadly, we only got the first 40 minutes. Well, it was very much a shambles.
Well, it was also very much a shadow team as well, Steve-O. You know, there were about 6 or 7 players missing who were providing their fit.
That surprised me also, Eddie. We only had that game to prepare. Why didn't we go out with the top side? Okay, I know.
There's a couple not fit, Sculthorpe and Farrell, for instance. But listen, if it works that we win the Ashes at the end of the next 3 weeks, David Waite will be a hero. Don't worry about that.
Oh, I'll buy him the champagne. It's been a long time between drinks.
There's a promise.
Good work from Farrell, though.
He's lost the ball there.
That's a shame.
And it's Jordan James who has lost that, the Sheffield Eagles player. Good ball too from Farrell.
Yeah, he's worked hard as well since he came off the bench. Jordan James.
Just the impact of the ball carrying arm hitting the deck, and it just went from his grasp. Here is Bailey.
You could see there very quickly how the three-quarter line in the Kangaroos, they're hanging back, they're running under the football. That's a huge mistake.
Drops the ball.
That's been a problem with this fella.
And Villasanti won't let them get on with it, and there's going to be a little bit of pushing and shoving and the fisticuffs here. Villasanti was the man holding down.
You can see there he took his eyes off the football. It is a problem with him. He's rough and ready, this fella, Villasanti, and they certainly weren't going to take a backward step, were they? Damien Gibson just got a little short one in. Rightly so. Carl Kirkpatrick gives the penalty to the guys in red.
Bit of frustration there because he made the mistake from Villasanti. David Mills.
He was trying to make up for it there. That was one big hit, wasn't it?
Much better start to the second half, particularly the opening 5 minutes, Sean, for Wales.
Oh, it was a terrific start, Eddie, and one where they put a lot of pressure on, but how uncanny it is in this business where you see a side put so much pressure on, they have repeat set after repeat set, and the other team get the football and they go up the other end and score a try, and that just puts you back on the back heels again. I thought, you know, they started particularly well, obviously how Neil Kelly wanted them to start, a lot of pressure there, and you know, that's probably good for the Australians too. They want to be able to defend some sets of 6 and have some repeat sets against them. I think that would be probably a better workout for them than having a lot of possessions in this half.
Sean, I get the impression that whilst the Australians fully in control of this game, their first and second markers look a little bit lazy. We've already seen Ian Watson on many occasions take full advantage.
Well, I think you've got an example of it here down the short side too, Steve. I think you're exactly right. I think what's happening is we're not quite seeing the same efficiency in defence as we perhaps saw on Tuesday night, and they're the only games we've got to make comparisons with. Certainly the speed of line's not quite the same, and I don't think they're quite as enthusiastic from the marker area. Perhaps put that down to a couple of players that maybe haven't played as much rugby league as some others, and you know, they're still experimenting a little bit with some combinations, but it's an area today where they haven't been quite up to scratch, something that will give Chris Anderson a lot of work on the tape and be able to talk to the players about during the week before the first test next Saturday.
Well, we've seen Ian Watson take full advantage, as we mentioned. Imagine what Terry Newton can do.
Well, absolutely. You know, Terry, of course, is a very smart operator, very quick out of dummy half. And the other thing with Terry, of course, he'll have a lot of players pushing up with him, and that could put pressure not only around the marker, but also on the edges of this Australian defence. And anybody that's got players of Terry Newton and the calibre of the players of the Great Britain side, as long as they've got even share of possession and an ability to go forward and create some space, the Australians will be as vulnerable as any other defensive unit.
Australia in possession with Trent Waterhouse to the halfway line. Badiris will come this way. Willie Mason's on. Plays the ball to Badiris. Here is Lockyer, it's on the last. Lockyer slides the kick through. A hefty challenge from Anthony Farrell then. Hutchison with work to do and did it well. And a brave run from Hefin O'Hare.
Bit of a high shot there from the winger. Sean Hegarty. Lucky to get away with that, but one thing that Chris Anderson, the Kangaroo coach, will be happy with is that their kicking game and their chase has been superb. They've been turning the Welsh side around, and that brings on the fatigue. Having to drag the ball from your own quarter.
Lennon under pressure from Ricketson. It's a good kick in downfield.
That's much better. You're turning them around. What's the chase going to be like?
Well, they're getting there. They're getting there. Minicello will run it back.
One relays! On me, Mark!
And here's Lockyer again. Oh, not the best pass. And opportunities here, but a knock on. Knock on. Aled James got a hand to it.
Well, the combination, Mark Lennon, Aled James, not much experience between the two. You look at their opposites, Craig Gower, Brett Kimmorley. They've held up quite well.
Let's go.
Yes, debut last week for Aled James against Russia. He toured Australia with the Great Britain students team. And he was man of the match in both tests.
Two release, clear fast.
Buderus. Here's Luke Ricketson.
Interesting to see how Ricketson is utilising his play more as a stand-off rather than a loose forward. And we're seeing Craig Gower, who was selected at stand-off today. He's moving out wide into the centres. They've more or less swapped their positional play.
Quite unique, Luke Ricketson. He made his test debut after his 30th birthday, which in Australia is very rare. Lockyer. Sivanasiva. There's a hole opened up here for Sivanasiva. He gets to within 10 metres. They want to get on with it quickly, the Australians. They've lined up left. Here is Lockyer. Oh, an interception picked up there by Jordan James. And Jordan James tries to get away from Kimmorley, but the little Australian scrum half is quick. Quick play the ball. Aitchison wide to Lennon. Lennon, jinking run, halted by Kimmorley again, and he's pinched the ball.
What wonderful play by the halfback, Brett Kimmorley. What a start. Got back, made sure he got the tackle on James, and then another tackle on Lennon, and then steals the ball one-on-one. That's allowed within the rules.
This is Steve Simpson, halted by the tackle from John Ashton. Ricketson's on the inside, pops it back to Buderus. Here is Gower. He's through one challenge. It's wide to Hegarty, and he's cut in field Hegarty and touches down for the second try of this second half for the Australians. Shannon Hegarty from the Sydney Roosters. And there are quite a few Australians travelling over here to watch this tour. Some Willie Mason fans there, as you can see by the Willie Wigs.
Well, I know you're looking at me, Eddie. I'm not going to wear one. The last thing I'd want is a Willie Wig. A good play by the Australians. As I say, the combination reversed order. Ricketson playing the first receiver, and then the offload to Gower. And Gower always looking for the opportunity. It's going to be difficult now for the Welsh outfit. They're being stretched. Just solid good work down the middle by the Australians, and then their ability to create the link. Superb.
Gone completely now. I've got any.
Shannon Hegarty's try. Centre on the England A match on Tuesday. Shannon Hegarty. And Brett Kimmorley with the kicking now. And he has missed it. And that just shows you how important Craig Fitzgibbon is to this side. But Australia 46-4 up. And there are a whole host more Australians due over at the start and middle of this week for the Test series, which begins at Wigan next Saturday. And we'll see plenty more of those Wigs, I'm sure, during the course of the 3 Saturdays that are coming up.
Well, they estimate to 3,500 to 4,000.
Sivanasiva to run this ball out for the Kangaroos again. Lockyer. I tell you what, that John Ashton has put himself about a bit as well, the second rower, on his international debut from Hull Kingston Rovers. The thing is, you know, Steve, when you look down this list of players from the National League and they've got the ball back here, they've pinched it.
No,
how good will this be for these players in the National League next year?
Well, it's all experience for them, Eddie, and that's the most important factor. Okay, they're getting a bit of a drubbing, but they have not thrown in the towel, and you've got to appreciate that. But what a big hit. He didn't steal the ball. It was just a big impact from Anthony Farrell.
Alan Bateman, by the way, was injured. as he took the last tackle. He has a problem. And there's the little dab into the in-goal area by Watson, but it's just too deep. Tassel was hunting.
Being creative. Had a big match here in Watson.
And I don't think Alan Bateman can continue. Is that a dislocated thumb or is it a broken thumb? Well, it's obviously something. He's only been on for 20 minutes or so.
He's in a lot of pain, that's for sure, and well done by the official, Carl Kirkpatrick.
Arthritis.
Just went in awkward there.
It's not. Carl Kirkpatrick just went up to Alan Bateman and said, "What's your problem, Alan?" Arthritis. A little bit of humour from the referee, and it was taken in good spirit by Alan Bateman as well.
He's got no option, has he?
Sivan Asiva now. That's a great thing about this game. It's the heat of battle out there, but there is always time for a little bit of humour amongst players and referees.
Not only that, Eddie, the travelling supporters from Australia, when the Welsh did score the try, they were cheering, and they thought it was fantastic.
Lockyer. Well, I suppose if you're 30 odd points up and they get a try against you, that's fair enough. You can be thinking it's fantastic, can't you? I wonder if we'll be doing the same next Saturday. Did not. Interference. Had to play the ball by Watson.
I don't need you playing for it. I don't need you playing for it. He was in the road.
No doubt about it. Watson just made himself a nuisance in and around the play the ball area.
That with me, Reg.
But to my mind, Brett Kimmorley, he really has been the star performer out there.
Here's Billy Mason.
One release on the line. Release.
5 metres from the line. Badouris. Sivan Asiva. Big man taking 3 to stop him. Almost to the line. Wheeled back. Last quarter of the match. Badouris. Kimmorley. Oh, great ball. Great try from Craig Wing. Well, we've had a match and 3/4 of a match, and it is shining out like a beacon. The man who could cause Great Britain most damage in the Ashes series is one scrum half, Brett Kimmorley.
Superb play by the halfback, and the combination with Wing, the try scorer. It was as though they had an umbilical cord between them. They knew exactly what it was all about.
Craig Wing, the 9th try, the 8th different scorer.
But he's the architect, Eddie.
He is, and when you think he is under enormous pressure, Gower is going to be taking this conversion attempt, by the way, for the Aussies, but Kimmorley under enormous pressure because of the boots he's filling. He's filling the boots that should belong to Andrew John.
And to be fair to Kimmorley, it's only this season that he's really got back into his top form. Remember when he came out with the Super League Kangaroos many years back? He was still a young fella then, and he just had a run of bad form. Remember when he signed, he went to play with the Sea Eagles, now Manly, of course, back to their old name, and he never seemed to settle there, and it's taken him a while to get into the swing of things, but there's little doubt he's the man of the moment.
27 years of age, he laid that on a plate for Craig Wing. 52 points to 4. The only black mark on this Kangaroos performance so far is the fact that Ryan Girdler hobbled off in that first half, and I understand that Dr. Chris has been following the story.
That's right, Eddie. It's not good news for Ryan Girdler. He's on the sidelines now, well tucked away in the tracksuit. Obviously, they brought him over here as part of the 23-man squad with the calf injury that he sustained in the grand final, hoping that it would come right in time for the Test match next Saturday. That was always part of the plan, that he would play here against Wales in preparation for the Test match. Chris Anderson said before the game he wasn't sure about his centre pairing as yet. I guess this makes his selection duty a little bit easier. With Girdler out, one would assume that De Veer would come in now for the first test. Of the players not playing today, you would assume that Crocker and Kearns would make their way onto the bench, and now also De Veer, I think, will also get a start.
So it looked like Girdler then is out of the Test match next week. Reading in between what Chris has just said.
To release on the line.
So they're down to 22 men for that match now.
No, it won't help Chris Anderson, the Kangaroo coach, but he's certainly trying a few things, and I think the fact that he's making sure that Luke Ricketson takes the first receiver he's taken over the control. You would be looking towards Kamali and Gower combining the two halves. That's what you would expect. But it's been Ricketson that's been combining with Brett Kamali. Interesting to see if they use the same combination against Great Britain next Saturday.
That was Steve Simpson. Here is Ricketson again. And the pass out wide went on the bounce and behind Hegarty, but he managed to keep hold of it, and Hegarty straightens it up. He's got support behind him from Lockyer, but Lockyer has put the pass on the floor.
Not the best pass either from the winger. Not the best pass to him either. And there was very little that the skipper could do about that.
You're going off. You're going off here.
Full credit yet again to the Welsh side.
Can't have a rest.
Many a side looking down the barrel of a really good hiding would have had their heads bowed, but they're trying everything, aren't they?
Let's get news of Kevin Ellis, Alan Bateman. Bill?
Pain in the neck. That's the excuse for Kevin Ellis and Alan Bateman. In fact, both picked up bangs to just to the top of the shoulder, and both in quite a bit of discomfort, so they've come off. It certainly has been quite a grueling return for the two 38-year-olds, but they've coped valiantly with this, and to be fair, Sean, the Welsh side's given us as good as they can, do you think?
Well, I think they have. I think you look at the teams on paper, Bill, before the game, and everyone said it's going to be an Australian victory. The only thing was by how far, and you know, there's some Wales players out there that have proved themselves extremely well. The two older brigade have tried their very best, and perhaps not a great advertisement for 38-year-olds to be playing rugby league at this level, but at the same time they've had pride and passion in their performance, and some of the younger players, I think, haven't let themselves down either, and you know, it's been a particularly impressive performance, even though the scoreline won't reflect that.
Now 52 points to 4, and Mason on one of those runs of his spun to the floor, and Mason a little bit ginger to get up, still on his haunches as Villasanti plays the ball. Here is Ricketson again up the middle. Well, with a quarter of an hour to go, I just wonder what the situation is regarding Wales's interchange, because the players seem to have been on and off with some momentum, and indeed they only have 2 changes left, the Welsh, and they have 14 minutes to get through. And here is Wing. They're picking up knocks and bumps and bruises and
good
pains in the neck,
defence.
but it is good defence.
Solid from Evan O'Hare. It really is quality.
High kick from Gower. Oh, well claimed.
Great take.
Very well claimed by Damien Gibson.
Under a lot of pressure as well.
He was. It was
Minicello
who was sailing, looking for it. Well, it's a heavy defeat for the Welsh, and it was probably anticipated, but it's been a spirited display from them.
Well, they got that good start, didn't they? In the first 4 or 5 minutes, they were in full control, right on the line of the Australians.
The Ashes Test get underway next week. The first is live from Wigan next Saturday at 6 on Sky Sports 1. In fact, for the next 3 Saturdays, 6 o'clock at Sky Sports 1 is the place to be. We're in Hull with a full house at the KC Stadium for the second on the 15th, and then on the 22nd it moves to Huddersfield to the McAlpine Stadium, and all 3 Saturday nights it's 6 o'clock starts on Sky Sports 1 for the Battle of the Ashes, and tickets are selling out fast for Huddersfield and Wigan, and we're anticipating 3 full houses for the 2003 Battle for the Ashes, and why not, because it will be a battle royal, and Great Britain in with a wonderful chance.
Up the tempo and the defensive pattern of the Welsh side, and some of the Australians are feeling the effect.
And a
big hit there by Alec James.
Was a big hit, and they are prone, this Kangaroo side, to putting the ball to the floor when under pressure.
Well, there was a nothing pass there. You could see there it was opposite. Great go, I knew that James was right in his face. It's what was suggested at the start of the game, that you've got to try to make sure the Australians come up with so many errors. Got to have that little bit of doubt in their mind, and I'm sure that David Wade has picked up quite a few things in watching this.
15 handling errors by the Aussies.
You're right, Eddie. We should get the bulldozer to the Wigan Canal.
Mark Lennon pops the ball back to Anthony Farrell. You can credit this Welsh side, they are not giving in. Atchison gets it away to David Mills, it goes wide again, and further wide, and a chance here for Damien Gibson. Can he get round the best fullback in the world? No. Darren Lockyer thunders him to the ground, but the Welsh, here they come, with Adam Hughes.
Wonderful hands, great three-quarter play. And they had the pace on the Aussies.
Mills going for glory on his own, hauled back. Held up on the last, it's the turnover. Right on the Australian try line. Well, Neil Kelly,
he'll be a lot
last year's
happier.
coach of the year, and he has dredged from somewhere a really creditable performance in this second half from his team. Runs from dummy half, did you see that? 24-9.
Just shows you that, and I'm sure David Wade has picked up on that.
Well, I hope Terry Newton's watching as well.
Well, the thing is, Chris Anderson must be fully aware is that they've got to
he's dropped that.
A lot more intensity. A lot more extra effort in that first and second marker position.
If we can be biased and patriotic.
We are biased.
Just wonder whether they're getting all this rustiness out of their system ahead of that Ashes series, and they will play the game absolutely on blob at Wigan next week.
Well,
that's a great run from the base of the scrum by Jordan James.
That was the thing that's always worried me, is the fact that the Aussies will have had 4 games preparing. We've had 1.
Here's Chris Morley. Fitzgibbon comes back, Ricketson takes a breather. Watson from dummy half again. Wrestled to the ground by Willie Mason.
He's run his blood to water, hasn't he, Watson?
Here's David Mills. Goes wide to Adam Hughes. Good defence from Australia. Damien Gibson waits. Loops the pass into the arms of the prop forward Roberts. Lennon, that's good harassing there by Buderis. And Tassel asks for the kick out wide, and he's got it, but it's come a bit long. Palm back inside for Tassel. This is O'Hare, and they just couldn't get the ball over the line. Good scrambling defence from Australia again.
Quick to get back, diffuse the problem there. Nice high kick. Work by O'Hare.
Well, you may remember last year when the New Zealanders were over here for the international series, this Welsh team took them on at the Millennium Stadium. They lost 58-18. This is 52-4. Well, not yet as hefty a defeat as last year in terms of conceding points, but they haven't managed to run in more than the one Chris Tassel try in the first half. And Australia now looking to up the tempo in the last 10 minutes here. Good run from Minicello. Inside it comes again. Here goes Gower up the middle. Good hit by Aitchison.
Great defence. It's been a good hit out for the Australians. Been some bruising defence for them.
That's a good chip from Kimorley. Minicello's after it. Oh, it was touched down by the leg.
Just check the grounding, please, Dave.
Well, it certainly hit his leg. Did he actually get fingertips to it as well, Anthony Minicello?
I don't think so.
Looks so from up here, but the pictures will tell the story.
Well, they're all on side, so
no problem with that.
That's fine. Surely that's quite clear, and it is. O'Hare made a real meal of it. No, that's no try.
Well, or did he get it? Now this will tell us.
Knock on.
It's a try. It's a try. Minicello has got a hand to that somehow.
My apologies there. Well, at full speed. I thought he'd knocked on, but full credit to him. It's got to be TRY
yes,
time
definitely.
for that.
Well, that's our view. Steve Cross is the man with the button that says try or no try.
And it will be.
Here comes the decision. Try is given. Minicello. From this side, as we watch from the gantry on this side of the field, there was never any way that that was a try. On the other side, with our other angle, a definite try. And Sky Sports, of course, with the Rugby League, we almost invented this video referee system, and it has been proved time and time again to be absolutely priceless. Look, he would never have given that try from this side, but from the other angle.
Yep. Good work, though. And it's that man again, Brett Kimmorley. The winger made a real meal of it. Got a nasty bounce, but full credit to Minichiello.
Terrific skill from Minichiello there. Just waited.
But take nothing away from the little chip over the top from Brett Kimmorley.
And there's Fitzgibbon back on the field. If Great Britain concede penalties to the Aussies, Fitzgibbon will punish them with the goals. That's 8 from 8 for Fitzgibbon. The try from Anthony Minichiello.
Well, if there's going to be a smile on Chris Anderson's face, it's going to be the fact that he'll be so impressed with the ability that's been displayed by the halfback Brett Kimmorley. I think there's only been 2 tries where he doesn't have a hand in them throughout this game. Just shows you the quality and class of this fella.
So 6.5 minutes to go, or thereabouts. And Fitzgibbon absolutely rock solid with the boot. Great Britain, if you're watching, concede penalties within kicking range at your peril. And Wales have just made their last change that they are permitted. 12 interchanges from 4 men sitting on the bench, and they have to play now with what they have out there till the end of the match. Here's Craig Wing.
Again, a few times, just a little bit rusty with the passing out wide. Good work in the forwards, trying to drag the defensive system in, right down into the middle. And here's another one that's certainly impressed me today.
Oh, Badeiras bounces off the tackles. Can't get away from that one. Aitchison, the captain of Wales, low down. Lockyer. Gower, he's through again. That's easy.
Just dipped the shoulder.
Through the dummy, and it just disappeared, the defence. Gower over for the try. They've hit the 60-point mark now. And that now is a record score against Wales in an international.
Well, as Chris Anderson playing Ducks and Drakes, we saw there for the very first time in the second half that Craig Gower took the first receiver. Normally it's been throughout this second half a loose forward Ricketson. So he is just tweaking a few things as the Australian coach. Plenty of experience, and
that's the 11th try, Steve-O. 10 different scorers.
Got the ability, that is for sure, and what a season this guy's had. Penrith, the grand final winners in Australia, and he's been a tower of strength in the playoff situation. There's Craig Gower. Obviously, that has got to be the combination, Gower and Kimmorley, I would feel, for next Saturday.
And this fellow, Craig Fitzgibbon, he is definitely going to wear number 12, the goal kicker. There's another successful kick from him. 64-4 now. And there is the Penrith Panthers captain in the grand final. 13 appearances for Australia, Craig Gower. He was actually hooker in the World Cup semi-final in 2000 against Wales. Gower.
Well, that's where he started in his junior football. Australia. Penrith side very quick to pick him up as a youngster. And has developed, as we've seen, into one of rugby league's best. But full credit to this Welsh outfit. I honestly felt that they may just not be up to it in the second half. We often talk about the fact against these Australians that the final quarter is a problem. They've given it their all.
Well, 36-4 at half-time, 64-4 now as we approach the end. Here's Kimmorley. Eventually brought to ground by Morley, who has probably been the pick of the Welsh. Lockyer feeds it wide. This is Bailey. Infield it comes. And that is Minichiello again. He's got Badeiras. And Badeiras goes over for another try. Second for him. And Australia with the opportunity here to hit the 70-point mark, because Fitzgibbon will take the kick from bang in front of the sticks.
Very tight Welsh defence there. Quick play the ball. Shifted the ball way out wide. Lockyer. Good support play. Back on the inside. Good work from Bailey. And as all hookers should do, when the ball goes out towards the wing, the hooker goes down the middle. You always look at it as though it's a squash court. Rugby league ground, it goes out one way, it'll bounce off. And it certainly bounced back on the inside there, didn't it, for Badiris. Good quality. That was Chris Anderson. Both the hooker, Badiris, and Brett Kimmorley. I'll be rolling him in cotton wool at the moment.
Fitzgibbon adds the extras. 70 points to 4. It's a cruel scoreline, and it reflects the golfing class, but it does not reflect the effort that these Welshmen have put in.
And let's hope it's the foundation to continue on to one day have a Super League team down here in Wales. I've been banging on about it. They love their rugby, beat any code.
Last minute or so of the match. Can Wales score something? Can Australia be stopped from scoring another? Here comes Mason again, and it's a very tired Welsh side now.
Come on, come on.
We're in the last minute.
Now, they have shown the key is that with the likes of the big fella, Willie Mason, you just got to go for the legs. If you go high against any of the Australians, they work so hard on their upper body strength.
Lockyer, they're going high on them now. Lockyer stabs the ball down the wing, looking for Bailey. Bailey will hack it on, and there is Minicello to add his second. And it's just fatigue now that is robbing the Welsh. Well, the referee hands it on to the video referee as the final siren goes. This is purely academic now.
He wants to see if there was onside and did it actually go over the touchline. It bobbled close. Watch this. Bailey get a foot to it before it. Yes, he does.
Brilliant.
Did ever so well. Well, with the game already wrapped up, many a player would have said, oh, we'll just let the clock tick down, but not this Australian outfit. Any opportunity.
That's great play.
Wonderful stuff, isn't it? He knows he's fighting for his position. Good quick hands, and you can see that Lockyer hasn't had many opportunities to chime in, and didn't really need it.
They're all onside.
Yeah. Nice bit of play, isn't it? Yeah, that's all right. See the foot. You see how the foot how it's extended in front.
Well, it's academic all this because the final siren sounded. The Australians have won. 70 points to 4 it is at the moment. It's either 74 or 76-4.
Well, they're all onside there. On the kick, he's now going to see whether Villasanti is just in front of Bailey. Villasanti's on the near side. Bailey's the one that's getting the boot to it, but you can see he extends the leg forward, and that, in my opinion, puts Villasanti onside. It's got to be TRY.
Well, Steve Cross is the video ref, and he agrees with you. Try is given. Minicello right on the buzzer.
That ability to look all the time. An opportunity to get it. Bailey was outstanding there, and the winger picked it up very, very quickly indeed.
And Fitzgibbon has added yet another kick to prove that it's not just from bang in front that he is dangerous. 76 points to 4, Australia win. It's all over. Fitzgibbon is a man with a radar boot, and he is a mighty weapon in the Kangaroos' army. What a goal kicker he is, and what a schemer this fellow is. Brett Kimmorley. They're the two danger men, I feel. But the Australians warm up for the tests with a record defeat by the Welsh. 76 points to 4. 74-4 against Russia for the Welsh last week. The wrong side of the scoreline this. Scoreline makes sorry reading from the Welsh point of view. 76 points to 4. That's how it's ended up. And the man of the match, Brett Kimmorley of Australia. Here he is with Chris Warren.
With me, man of the match, Brett Kimmorley. There's the Trevor Foster medal. Brett, a good performance by yourselves. I guess the perfect tonic leading into the first Test match.
It was, yeah. We're getting better. You know, certainly we had a very physical hit out against England the other night, and have come here and we played a lot better. We got a lot of sets out, and you know, probably the weather made it a bit drop ball, but we know what we've got to get to between now and next weekend, where we know we've got a fair challenge. But you know, we'll go in with some confidence now.
It was disappointing that you didn't go on with the job when you had your chances against England. Not so today. When the opportunities presented themselves, you made the most of them.
Yeah, we do. I think it's probably just a matter of we haven't played a great deal of footy, so you know, we're probably getting a bit more match tougher now. And today was probably a chance to throw the ball around, and I thought we did well enough to grind out the win. So you know, a lot of our tries were probably from just what we're trying to work on, working together and being a bit tighter.
Thanks, Brett.